Okay, welcome to Modern Calligraphy. Today we've got Rachel as our teacher. I'm kind of monitoring the chat room, so go ahead and ask questions or just come in and ask Rachel. At this point, she's just going to go over, we are on letter C today, and she'll go over the beginning packet, and then we have some projects at the end. So go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. So today I'm going to be using, of course, our Tombow. You want to have those ready. Of course, a pen, a pencil, pen, and a pen available. That pen and pencil will be mainly used towards the end during the projects. Like she mentioned, we're going to go over the hand lettering guide and details for our beginning class and go from there. So I always like to start off with these words of encouragement. It might be cut off slightly. How is that? So just keep in mind, anyone can hand letter as long as you're willing to practice. Think of hand lettering as drawing shapes. Lettering is not cursive. While learning this new skill, go slow and controlled. Don't worry about shakiness in the beginning. Focus on each stroke and understand how each letter form is created. And then what I want to do, after doing this class a few times, I've learned kind of going back and forth through the packet, using the packet as a guide. I want to just jump right into this and let everybody pick up a pen and pencil and just briefly go over our basic strokes. I'm using tracing paper here just to demonstrate with tracing paper. And again, this is just our basic strokes, and we will definitely go into more details throughout the packet. For this, let me use a bigger brush pen. I'm going to go ahead and pick up Tombow. And briefly, I just wanted to show you, if you like, and if you have this packet, this page, go ahead and grab it just so we can go over these basic strokes. You can pick up any writing utensil of your choice, just to, again, to get a feel for the basic strokes and follow along. If not, like I was about to say, you can just use any piece of paper and follow along. So we have our upstroke. It starts from the bottom to the top with light pressure at using the tip of your pen. Next, we have the downstroke. You start from the top to the bottom with hard, firm pressure on the side of the marker pen. Next, we have the overturn stroke. Overturn. Start on the left bottom. Over with light pressure, and then over into hard pressure. So bottom left, light, curve over, and apply pressure on your downstroke. Light, over, apply pressure. We have our underturn stroke. Start on the top left with hard pressure, release right before the bottom into a light upstroke. Top left, heavy pressure, back up, and using the very tip of my pen, release pressure. Full pressure, release before the bottom and back up. We have our compound curve. Start on the bottom left with light pressure, over with heavy pressure, and back up, light. So light, over, heavy, release before the bottom, back up. Compound curve. Over, full pressure, release before the bottom. Next, we have the oval. The oval will start at 10 o'clock with light pressure over into full heavy pressure, back up to where you started. The reverse oval starts about 2 o'clock with light pressure and go backwards. Reverse, light, heavy pressure, release before the bottom, back up to where you started. Next, we have the ascending loop. Starts in the middle of the line. The light pressure, reverse into heavy pressure, and start in the middle, reverse, full pressure, and pass where you started. Descending starts from the top with heavy pressure, down, release before the bottom, and stop in the middle of your downstroke. So that was just a quick review of our basic 4 strokes, which create our calligraphy alphabet. I wanted to have y'all get a feel of the strokes before we go into details. So next, I'm going to review this page. Okay, so this is just what I went over, our basic 4 strokes. I like to use this page as a reference sheet. So once we go through it, I always like to tell everybody to put it aside for reference. Even when you're doing projects on your own, it will show you how to create each letter, what strokes go into each letter, and a breakdown of all the basic strokes. So just a quick rundown: upstroke, downstroke, overturn, underturn, compound, curve, oval, reverse oval, ascending loop, and descending loop. Here in this portion is our alphabet. Let me get these. It is smaller, so we can use one of our Tombow pens. The blue pen is a hard tip, and the green barrel is a more flexible tip. So here it just demonstrates every time you change strokes, you would lift your hand in between every stroke. So we'll just go through a few letters showing you how you would lift your pen in between every stroke. And again, this is more of a reference guide, but using tracing paper is good to use this page for practice. Okay. Next is our alphabet breakdown. Let me see. So basically, when you're not quite sure what strokes go into what letter during your practice phases, you can use this as a reference guide, and I can show you a few of the more difficult strokes that I found difficult when I started. But basically, let's just start with letter A. Of course, we have upstroke. What is this? A reverse oval and an underhand turn. Underturn, I'm sorry, underturn. So when you put those together, you create the letter A. Self-explanatory. So the two that were harder for me was the letter R and S. I always like to point those out. There's not a name for this stroke, but it's the upstroke with the loop. And an underhand turn. I know I did break it up here, but in the end result, you do want to have it as one stroke. I'm sorry, draw it as one stroke. So when you combined it, you have your letter R. Same thing for the letter S. You have your 3 strokes, but it's better to be drawn in one stroke. The letter M is another one that was confusing. I know it doesn't sound, why would a letter M be confusing? But when it's broken down this way, it's more understanding. So let me just demonstrate the letter M. Overturn, overturn, compound curve. Overturn, overturn, compound curve. When I started off, I just wanted to, well, kind of just, I guess that's good because I practice. But what I'm saying is at the beginning, I didn't get taught how to break it down specifically. I just wanted to write everything out in cursive. But once I came across this tip, it changed everything. So those are really good tips when it comes to practicing your alphabet. Do I have any questions before I move on? And so like I said, you can put this aside. Practice B. Yes, I can. Okay. Letter V. So that looks like it is a compound curve, but what I did, instead of rounding it off at the bottom, I just came straight up as if you would just draw any letter V. So you have, starts off as a compound and then shoots straight up. And this little guy here, it's a comma dot. Kind of reminds me of a Nike check mark. You just apply pressure once and then check it right away. I mean, I know I move my pen slightly down, but in reality, you can just tap and check. And that's how you end up with a comma dot. Starts as a compound, goes right up into the letter V with the comma dot. Any other letters I can demonstrate for anybody?
We've got the letter H.
What was that question, Debbie?
H.
Oh, letter. Somebody made a comment about the pens.
I
Okay,
didn't
letter.
have the same pens as you, so I'm trying with a calligraphy pen. Some letters look like this. Yeah, so basically a calligraphy pen, I'm assuming with an ink cartridge or with liquid ink is what she's talking about. Or are you talking about a wedge pen? Probably, Brenda. I think a chisel edge is what you've got, but it's a felt pen, but it's hard, right? Yeah, so that will give you the formal letters like copper plate. And the key to that is holding that pen at a 45-degree angle and you'll still get the same shapes. So you want, I don't know, Rachel, can you show a 45-degree angle on your paper? Just how she needs to have the chisel mark. The pen mark is going to be just like an upstroke, you know how it's diagonal. You want that chisel point.
You mean the 45 this way?
No, the other way. Yeah, up to the right hand top corner.
Like this, or
No, no, no. I'm just saying draw a line, a 45-degree line. Just draw a 45-degree line.
oh, okay.
Just plain.
Well, I say 45 degree.
Exactly. And then she would line her pen at that top left line. The sharp edge, the white edge would be in a line with that 45-degree.
Oh, okay. And I don't have one. And do you have one to demonstrate?
I do. I'll find it while you keep going.
Okay, okay. That's one thing I do not have. Okay. So you said the letter H. We have the upstroke, the ascending loop with the compound curve.
Okay, let me turn on my.
So definitely want to lift your pen in between every stroke when putting multiple strokes together. I mean, for basically anything, quotes, words, individual letters.
Okay, I'm going to show on my camera. I'm going to make me the spotlight just for a second. Okay. So a chisel pen, it's got a flat tip. Do you see how it's flat? So that's a calligraphy pen. Okay, and so you would keep this flat line at this angle. So that's a 45-degree angle. You would always keep this chisel, this wide point right there, so that when you do a letter, it's automatically going to have that angle. Can you see that? So you just did the V. Just by holding it in the same position and moving your arm.
Without rotating.
Yes, you don't rotate it. So you can do calligraphy with these kind of pens. It's
But just how
not
you demonstrated the letter E, that's the tricky part. So you always want to go in a downstroke position, where with a regular brush pen, I would create the letter E in one stroke, where you broke it down into two pieces because I would have naturally gone upwards, and you don't do that with a chiseled pen.
Yeah, because you get that the shattering or the chattering. So you have to. That's right. So you've got to do like a C or an E or something. It's just two parts.
It's connected.
Yeah.
You can go up, backwards.
But it's still the same shape. Okay,
yes.
Continue on.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to put it back on you.
Okay.
If I can find you. There you are. Okay.
Any more letters before I move on? Were there any letters in the comments that we didn't catch?
The only tricky one, I think, is the K. I mean, there's so many variations.
Yes.
Can you show them a couple of variations?
Yeah. Okay. So quick tip. This is how you get the most out of your tracing paper when you're practicing.
That's right.
So this is my alphabet breakdown. Let's back it up one. This is mine. I created it. I hand created it. Modern calligraphy is your touch. You create your own, but these are all basics. And like she said, there's different ways to write the letter K. With modern, there's no right and there's no wrong, as long as your ups are always thin and your thicks are always down. And then you create your own. So on this one, I did a line with I like to call it a half compound curve. Right there. And here I just broke it down, but I would put those together. We have upstroke, ascending loop, a line with a half compound curve. And then a couple of other variations of this would be like a letter R, you would add a loop and a tiny compound curve. What's another one that you had in mind, Debbie? Let me.
Well, I think the bottom, the exit stroke is really a curve more than
A flick, yeah, I flicked that one. Okay,
instead of
for
a
sure.
compound, a half of a compound. It's just kind of swoop out.
Swoop out. So it starts off with a half compound curve. Let me
Yes.
see.
Yeah, and
I say half because you go half, this is a compound, and then you start on the very top left, and then you end like a regular compound.
Right.
Okay, and like this one, you loop it.
Yeah, you still have that curve.
Let me show you, because I know this is very tiny on a Tombow.
That's
Or,
beautiful.
there you go. And that's where you just create your own style. I honestly refer to this one because this was always getting in my way when I would write with smaller pens. It looked too crowded for my liking. But again, that's the modern calligraphy. You create your own touch. Any questions? Okay. Okay, so now that we had some practice with our alphabet breakdown and we got to go over our basic strokes, I wanted to give you some brush lettering basics, some things that you want to keep in mind while you're practicing. For number one, we have, I was going to demonstrate as I talk about it. You have heavy pressure on your downstrokes and light pressure on your upstrokes. So that's what I said a little while ago. As long as you follow these rules, you can create modern calligraphy. 45-degree angle. Keeping your pen like this, not straight up. Okay. And lift your pen just before the bottom. Because you do not want to end up with that. That's a no-no. And then hold your pen in the middle of the barrel. So I know I taught myself to get comfortable holding it this way. But if you do have problems with getting those thick downstrokes, try holding it right here in the middle of the barrel. Right around here. And look how thick, how much more thicker my downstroke got. Okay. So those are just some brush lettering basics. Okay, so with faux calligraphy, I always like to teach this because you can use it to, how do I say it? Should we, let me demonstrate it first and then I can explain how different ways you can use it. Let's start there. So foligraphy is usually created when you don't have a flexible tip. That means a pencil, or here I have non-flexible micron, or if you don't have anything, use your basic household pen. So you're going to start off by writing the letter, the word.
Rachel, you need to push your paper up.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Okay. You're going to start off by writing the word. And when you're writing the word, you always want to keep your basic strokes in mind, because when it comes to writing the downstroke, it'll give you enough spacing. So you have your downstroke, and then to create the calligraphy look, you would just fill it in. I made that kind of thick, but I'm going to demonstrate it again. So that's how you would do foligraphy. If you wanted to create calligraphy and you only have non-flexible tips available. But if you wanted to use faux calligraphy for more of a project craft, you would leave it open and stop on the step 2. And you can use it to fill in with watercolor. You can add effects like embellishments or flowers, depending on how big. But for example, using it this way, leaving it open just to create a project using foligraphy. Let me see. Kind of stuck on that one. Is any questions on that? Did you want me to demonstrate something else, Debbie? But that's pretty much the basics of that and why I teach it.
Right. I think it's just important to know that on certain materials that you work on, you're not going to be able to do your flexible pens.
That's what I need to add to my notes. Yes, exactly. So with a chalkboard, you obviously cannot get a flexible chalk pen or chalk mirror glass. So practicing this will help you in those situations. And also teaches you where the downstrokes are when you break it down that way during your practice phases as well.
I also find that I go back and I clean up my lettering based on this, you know.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't do as thick of a downstroke as I should have, and so I can go back and based on doing a faux calligraphy.
Or like say, for example, it kind of wasn't thick enough.
Yeah, so your eye's not as thick as it should be, but you can go back down over it.
With knowing this portion of calligraphy is what you're saying. If you learn this portion, you can do tips and tricks like that.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do foligraphy a lot when I'm taking notes for classes, or in church when I'm taking writing scriptures, or you know, just some sort of lecture place where I'm listening to someone. I'll be doodling, but I'll be doing it in faux calligraphy because it's just easier.
It is. Oh, okay, yeah. And you're doing faux calligraphy because you're writing notes with a non-flexible tip.
Exactly.
And you want to see the look of calligraphy. Okay, yes, exactly. So that's one thing we want to point out to you. If you want to continue to practice today and tomorrow and you don't have that flexible tip, this is a great way to start, just to understand thick and thin. Okay. Next, we have this page. Probably have to do just half. Okay, so this is a review of our basic strokes. This worksheet demonstrates how to use your strokes in different letters. It's a little worksheet, practice sheet. And let me get a smaller brush pen. I'm gonna use a Tombow. Here. So here it's gonna demonstrate thick and thin on the uppercase letters. And it shows different variations of the up and down stroke. So it's, if you obviously saw in the page 2, on the alphabet portion, not every single upstroke and every single downstroke is in this position. Sometimes you have to alter it, and this is kind of a couple of variations of the strokes. You can use tracing paper or go right over it. And then here they're showing the upstroke and downstroke with capital letters. Letter N, then upstroke, heavy pressure on the downstroke till it goes in an angle, and your upstroke. We have the underhand turn. This one obviously didn't show too many variations, but you have your overturn. You can see the overturn in the letter N right there. You can see the overturn twice here, 1 and 2. We have our compound curve. See, there's the half compound curve that I was talking about. You cut the first half off and the second half. So here on the letter Y, starts with a compound curve, ends with a descending that cuts through with an upstroke, which is an exit stroke. And let's use the letter X. The letter X has a half compound, and I like to start the X's from the bottom left, not from the top down. And the descending loop, depending on your letters, like the letter H, you wouldn't start in the middle, you would start further back, go around and pass, like a little cross. And then depending on your style, you can start from the bottom with a little, what is it? A little hook. So demonstrating here the ascending loop with the tail and a compound curve. Same thing with the letter L. So I'm trying not to mess up my setup. Underturn. You can use the underturn in the letter U. I would finish it that way. The letter Y, underturn, and descending loop. Then you have your oval. The letter O with a comma dot, there's a comma dot, oval. And then, so with the letter O, the area that you started, what is this, the 2 o'clock? So this is more a reverse oval. And then where you, that area you started, you can kind of hide it with your little comma dot. But that's more or less where you're gonna apply pressure. You're not gonna apply pressure on the top portion. I would suggest applying pressure where you started. And the descending loop. This descending loop goes across and up. This one goes across like a letter T. Okay. With the letter F, you can break it down. I usually do it in one stroke. It just takes a little bit more focus to get past to the bottom with an exit stroke. G, and instead of stopping here, you go through. So again, this is just a review and a small worksheet for practice. And of course, if you're using tracing paper, you can use this practice sheet over and over again. Okay, any questions before we move on? I know there is more to the packet, but I like to go over that towards the end, kind of when I wrap up the class. Any questions before we work on our C and June that you might want me to review? Were there any comments that I missed, Debbie?
No, everybody's caught up, so I think they're all staying with you.
Okay, great. Okay, so this month we have the letter C. Here I'm demonstrating what we would call a copper plate uppercase letter. Let me change pen colors so I'm not writing over black. Okay. With the letter C, best way for me to write it, another one stroke letter. So you start with the little hook, then reverse into a heavy pressure and come back up and slightly curve in. So little hook, light pressure up, reverse into heavy pressure, and back up with a little hook. And then of course, I'm not gonna fill up the whole entire line, but the point of this is so you can go back and fill up these lines with practice letters. Next, we have our lowercase c. Starts with a upstroke, a reverse, and an exit stroke. So on this one, it is 2 strokes. One more time. And then if you like, you can add a little flick there. Here is what I would consider a bounce letter C. And I didn't add just because it's a bounce, kind of making it more on the modern side, I didn't add an entrance stroke. But basically with bounce, it's always more of a going past the baseline motion and more of a almost flick it more instead of rounding it out. So again, we have past the baseline and a more of a V motion. Like I said, that's more the bounce style. This is a faux calligraphy, so I'm going to switch over to a non-flexible pen. Start with the regular letter C and add the second line. Letter C and add a second line. And do it one more time and fill it in. And all the tips that we mentioned earlier, like Debbie mentioned, you can create any of these the same way using faux calligraphy. So just a quick example, you can still create the uppercase letter C. Just add your second line and fill it in. You can also use a pencil. With the pencil, you can apply pressure on your downstrokes. So upstroke, I'm going to use light pressure. You might not be able to see it, but you use light pressure. And then on the downstrokes, you apply pressure. And it's basically going to give you calligraphy in a light and dark mode. So let me see. Light and dark on the downstrokes. Pencil is another good tool to use when you're getting used to the applying pressure to your pens, because I know sometimes it can feel uncomfortable. But if you practice with the pencil first before using a flexible pen, it just helps a lot. I don't know why. Okay, so for Happy Father's Day, I have this as our quote of the month due to the holiday around the corner. So for quick practice, just follow along. That's better. I did a fun little extra there on the P's.
So Rachel, stop
Yes,
just a
ma'am.
sec. Okay, right there on that P, where do you start? You don't go from the corner all the way back out again for your exit stroke. You start right at the thick part. Of
Yes. So
the thick
let's
part of this.
demonstrate a regular P right there.
Right, and then we're not retracing that thin little line because you can make it too thick then. You're picking up your pen and going out from the P for your exit stroke.
Right, yes. So you're saying instead of that is what you're saying?
No, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of times like on an S or a P, you'd swoop in and then you'd swoop back out. You know, you'd come around the P
Oh,
and then you'd come back out. Yeah, so we don't want to keep our pen down, right? We want to lift it there.
For beginners, yes. You
Okay.
will, in the beginning phases, just lift your pen in between every stroke. So that's why I'm being very technical here. But yes, as you advance, you'll find your own. You can even, I should have done that P, but yes. Swooping out is an option, but releasing, I stopped here and lifted my pen.
Yeah, I think that's better practice.
Better practice, yes, yes. Okay, thanks for pointing that out. And this descending loop, I went past and gave it a long exit stroke. The letter F. Okay, here's a fun one. So you do the letter T. And then instead of starting here, you're gonna cross your T and go right into the letter H. And we deal with a lot of THs in everyday writing, so this will be a fun little look to add. So what you can see here, I always try to cover up my last stroke or the last time I lifted my pen so that I can obviously combine them. Oh, here's a fun one too, but let me finish here. So I can pretty much cover up my lifted pen stroke, if that makes sense, so that we don't end up with a gap like this. Okay, so with this one is a one stroke and I go directly into the letter S, but that's more advanced and you can practice R and S's together. Let me demonstrate that again. Oops. Sometimes I just can't help but lift my pen. The first time I swooped it back out. Okay, right now I lifted my pen because I felt uncomfortable. So I knew if my hand was telling me if I didn't lift my pen, I would have ended up with a funky exit stroke, if that makes sense. So when in doubt, just lift your pen. That makes sense.
You might also want to tell them, well, guess I can tell them, the little loops, the top of that R loop and the top of the S loop are above the X height.
Above. Yes, ma'am. So you wouldn't, just look at how tiny they look if you stay below. And to me, it won't match the other letters. Yes, good point. Okay. So here how my stroke covers, and this is I went straight from an underhand turn straight into a compound curve, just to avoid the look of doing this and then trying to pick back up, and you kind of see uneven lines there. There you go. How was that? Okay. So here we have the word, the month, June. And June is broken down into an upstroke, or let me start reverse. An upstroke, a descending loop, compound curve, a reverse compound curve, another compound curve, and the letter E in one stroke. I keep forgetting I'm covering the camera. Here we have June written in bounce form. And like I mentioned, with the bounce, it's more of a flick as opposed to more rounded edges. That's my personal opinion. That's something I've seen for myself and how I'm explaining it to my class. And you might find people explaining it differently, but that's how I found it to work for me. And of course, with the bounce, it's bounce when it goes above the waistline and below the waistline. So let me do it again. This time I'm just going to freehand it and you'll probably see some more bounce. Oh, I think I messed that one up. Okay. Did I? Yeah, I did. Okay. Next, we have the expanded, and basically it's just longer entrance strokes and longer exit strokes. Next, we have the full calligraphy June. So in order to get, obviously, the open space without, to get through without disrupting the open space, I drew it half first. So I stopped there, added my downstroke, my little tail there, and then continued on with the word. And like I mentioned before, you want to keep enough spacing in between each stroke to add the second line. Here I left a little space so that I don't end up in, basically what I'm saying is I like to see the spacing in between without lines going through it. And then here with the June, it's just written with capital letters, and every downstroke This heavy pressure. And then here on the flourish, flourishes are usually drawn after, but here for the practice sheets, I'm going to demonstrate adding it along with, and the reason I say flourishes are added after, like when I designed it, I added the flourish after. So anytime you're playing and getting to know flourishes, it's best that you just start off with your base word and always use a pencil. Sketching is key to all of this. And you would always, go and sketch out your flourishes to see which type of flourish fits where and if it looks decent enough. So here we'll start with the twirl, all light pressure. Go down into heavy pressure. And then this one's kind of a fast. With flourishes, you always want to stay in a oval motion, not circles. I added a little bounce to the rest of the letters. And this one goes up and that way. It's kind of hard seeing it on the tracing paper. Can you see that, Debbie? Is it okay, or should I do it on a different piece of paper?
No, it looks fine. We can see it perfectly.
Okay, great. Okay, so basically that's it. That's how the worksheet goes. You want to just fill up the lines.
Mhm. So
Fill up the
Celeste
line.
asked a question. Did you say a copper plate uppercase? And yes, she
Yes.
did. It's called copper plate, all one word.
Yes, and I say copper plate because that's usually the best way to do your research on capital letter. You wouldn't go and type on the internet uppercase calligraphy. Yes, there is, but you'll get better results when you research copper plate calligraphy, because you will end up with more of a formal uppercase letters.
Mhm. So that's the kind of lettering that you see on wedding invitations and envelopes and things like that, with the flourishes added to make it really special. It's just a way of learning the fundamentals.
Okay, and then one thing, Debbie, I didn't do in today's class, what I want to show them, if you have this paper, I wanted to, or any paper, show you a quick worksheet of how you would, how do I say it? Your alphabet. There's this cool little worksheet that I do when I'm practicing, or at the beginning of your calligraphy journey. You want to use the first letter of the alphabet. So today we would be using the letter C. You would add it in front of every single letter in the alphabet. And it's more of a drill, alphabet drill. So if you want to follow along, we can do about one line, and then you could finish all the way to Z, but I'm going to demonstrate it to show you what I am talking about. So letter C would be at the beginning of every letter. We have C, A, B, C, C. No, you can add the little D. Starts. There you go. And then challenge yourself to finish all the way to letter Z. And that is a good drill to start when you're still in your practice phase. I actually did my whole entire alphabet.
Rachel, can you just show them real quickly?
Yep.
One line using a Crayola.
Oh, yes. Let's see if I have one. Let me go grab it because I have my box right here in the next room.
What she does is she'll show you how to do the alphabet just using by pressing down hard on the Crayola marker. It already has the 45-degree tip on it. And so like if you had a Crayola marker, you'll be using that whole tip on the downstrokes. She'll show you in just a sec.
Okay. So, like I had showed you earlier, using the whole side on your downstrokes, and then using the tip of it on your upstrokes. So let's continue. I'm gonna do it bigger for the Crayola. Little hard getting the.
It's hard to get it straight.
Yes.
I mean, not wobbly. Yeah, you have to kind of go back and repair it a little bit.
Okay, so tip, no, H-I, okay, side, and then curve it a little up on the point. Ooh. I see what you mean by repair. So that's the tip, and then full pressure on the side. So then, no, you don't exactly have to flex it up. You just want to release the pressure as if it were a flexible pen. So using the very tip and then right there. But yes, using Crayola is tough.
Yeah, because all of us have Crayola markers at our home. And so I just wanted her to show just a couple letters with that to show that you can use the materials that you have at home.
Let me see the letter. R, S. I don't know why I keep forgetting, but every time I should definitely have it as right here. But yes, the very first day that I discovered calligraphy, I grabbed for my Crayola markers and I said, I'm gonna learn tonight. I can't wait for my markers. Oh, look, this is, what is the full comment? There was a comment.
Oh, this is the first time using the Crayola and it seems smoother and flowing. Yes, what you're going to find is it
Control.
doesn't give as much as a brush marker, so it's a little bit easier to use. I think.
It's controlled, yes. And that's how the harder tips are. So my flexible tip has more than the hard tip. I can control it a little bit more.
And then people buy the big Tombows and they get frustrated because they're so flexible. But
Very, but yes.
you can just train on the Crayolas and then switch over to your big Tombows.
This one is very flexible.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's really flexible.
And this is a Pigma brush.
Mm-hmm.
This one's hard to learn. Oh, gosh. Okay. Should we go over the tips or wait till the end and then move on? We can move on to Father's Day.
Let's go ahead and do the cards.
Yes, okay. Did you want to do that or did you want me to continue?
Did you want to?
Did you have it set up? If you have it set up with,
Oh,
did you create guides or, I mean, I kind of had my dot pad ready. What did you do to prepare?
I didn't. I just have a page folded in fourths to do.
Oh, okay.
So you could do the same. You're fine.
Okay. And that's just to demonstrate how to just do a card or just to show
Just
the different
the four things.
Okay. Let me just pull it up really quick on my phone.
Let me show you one thing while she's getting set up.
Okay.
And this is something that Rachel found a long time ago for me. This first card that has the ribbon on it. So if you take a piece of paper and fold it in fourths.
You need to show yourself.
There. Okay, so I was just going to show them really quick how to do this diagonal thing. The ribbon.
I don't see you.
Oh, let me go big. Sorry. I've got you as the spotlight. Okay. Okay. So I was just going to show you how to do this. Rachel showed me a really cute video of how to make this ribbon without having to measure it perfectly like our sample. That's just straight and it's got lots of squares and it's hard. But here's a very easy way to do that. So you just go like this. I'm going to do it really dark so you can see it. Sorry. Okay. And then you just jump down just a little bit. You come down maybe half an inch and you do it again. But you would be doing it very light, whereas I'm doing it dark so it can show up on the camera.
Right. It would be more of a sketch.
Right. And then you just connect these. You would erase. You would erase it in the middle. Or for you, you wouldn't even draw that, but you just connect these ribbons.
Continue, do the Father's Day, because that's nice.
Yeah, so you can just go in and you could do Happy Father's Day in there.
There you go. And I'll show the Happy Father's Day and congratulations, the other one. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, see how easy that is? And now you've got that. Okay.
Yeah, so so then what she would do next is maybe lightly sketch it. You want to just go through the process, lightly erase it, and then go over with marker.
Yeah, and I just did it. I don't think I can get mine off because it's so, I was doing it dark. So
oh, okay. Okay. No. I get it. So
It
then
would
the
show up on
next
the
step,
camera. But
so
that's
what
what
I
you would do. You would clean it all off and erase
clean it
almost
off.
all.
You would want to erase it just enough so you can see your own sketch. Go over with marker, so like Debbie's left side, just light like that, light enough to see your own sketch. And then at the, oh, that is so beautiful. I love that technique.
So simple. You're not measuring anything. You're just doing those loop-de-loops.
Because that's what I've been doing all these years, is measuring, and so hard.
Yeah.
And those loop-de-loops are very
They're
satisfying.
pretty. Yeah, they're very flowy.
Right, and then after you put down all your markings, your final markings, you go over the whole entire thing and erase any last sketchings.
Right. So now if I go back, I could erase it pretty strong now. Let me see what happens then.
And you may see it still on your side where it's not perfectly gone, but to me, I don't even see any of your pencil sketching. It looks good.
Oh, good. Okay. So that's the easiest way to do the, oh, but I made a mistake right there. Right there's a mistake. That line shouldn't be
So
there.
anything inside the banner.
Yeah. So pay attention to your banner as you're doing it.
Yeah, so maybe focus on erasing inside of the banner before you put down your marker.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
There you go. Oh, and then.
Oh, yeah. And then that's right.
See, because that's what happened was you kind of got confused with the markings that were left behind.
Yes, I did. That's the problem. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So that's mine. So I'm gonna put it back on you. And you do the next one.
Okay.
You ready to do the next one, Rachel?
Yes, I am. Okay. So I was just gonna use my dot paper. I know some people have the dot pad or not, or you could find any type. Can you even see the dots on the screen? No, probably not.
Barely, just barely.
Okay, that's good. So it's more of a sketch. Okay. So, oh, my phone locked. Give me 1 second.
Now, are you doing it in pencil first?
Yes, I'm gonna start in pencil and then I'm gonna do it pretty dark like you. Okay. So with the fathers, we're gonna do this one, the Happy Father's Day, because I like the way the flourishes go. So what I did is just sketched out, well, hold on, let me sketch out.
You're gonna have to go
maybe-
darker
Okay,
for people to see.
Okay,
You just won't be able to erase it real well, but people need
Okay.
to see how big of a
for sure. Okay. So
guideline you
what I'm gonna do is just create a guideline for myself so that fathers is more straight. So you can use a ruler here. I'm using the dots on my pad. So I'm going to use this as my X height here. And this will be for the ascending and descending here. So we'll do this is not a calligraphy F, it's just an uppercase F. But I am kind of, even though this is my guide, I'm still going to kind of go in an angle. On the F. So the T doesn't come until we create the letter S. This H goes directly into a flourish. Remember, keep oval. Hope it goes down to the, so this is why we use a pencil when we sketch, because I was not happy with that. So I would start halfway.
You might have to go over it darker.
Okay.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Let me see more of an oval. There we go. Something like that. Okay. Pick up on the E. And here the S is separated. Okay. And then I'm just gonna go in with a dark pen, or I'm sorry, yeah, with my dark.
Like a big Tombow?
Yeah, I'll use a different one.
Okay. But that thick of, that big of a.
Right, thicker. Right. Oh. There it is. Okay. Okay. Actually, this is kind of thick. Here it looks.
That's beautiful.
Let me get a. Or if you want to get creative, you can even do calligraphy on that.
That's cute.
You could do calligraphy, or if you want to do a flexible tip every downstroke. If I left enough spacing, but so you can see what it looks like. Get creative with your straight letters, one or the other.
That looks great.
And then, yeah, thank you. Then erase your markings. I won't do all of them, but you get it. Oh, the mustache. How do I do the mustache? I guess just sketch it out.
Yeah, that's how I did it. I just did one side and then I copied the other to make the other side match that first side.
Round it. Oh,
It's like a little whale
Oh.
or a fish.
yeah, you're the watercolor. Okay, so down here
It's just a circle, yeah,
whole swoop.
an oval.
There you go. It's the top that's like the letter S. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the top is a letter S,
And then you just have to match it.
and then the underneath.
I wonder if men have a hard time keeping their mustache matched on either side, trimmed.
All right, never thought of that.
Me neither. Okay, we can't see that. You're probably too light,
Oh, yes, okay.
but
So let me just do it with
just
my.
go in with pen, yeah.
So letter S with a swirl. Letter S with a swirl. And then round it at the bottom. First time drawing a mustache.
Good job.
Okay. And then of course fill it in. Or if you have a Crayola, something faster. Watercolor, if you're doing with nothing but watercolor.
At the very end of the class, I have a calligraphy project that I've been working on, a wedding gift that I need to show. I need to show you guys, and you guys can, maybe after the camera's off. But stay on so I can show it to you.
Okay, and then I'm just gonna write congratulations for our graduates. And then I actually have a gold metallic pen that I can write it in.
Now, is that a mono pen or is it a brush pen?
It's a brush pen.
Really? Wow.
This brand, if y'all want to write that,
XU.
Kuretake.
Oh, it's a K.
Kuretake. I found these on Amazon, but this is on my wish list. This brand right here, I'm about to show you, has a metallic line as well. Oh my gosh, that's on my Amazon list as well. But using these markers that I have in my hand, I believe if you're gonna invest in metallic, go for a better quality. I did this to save money, and I don't, obviously it's the quality of the brush pen. It's gonna do the job, but in the end, I just love the way these write, period.
Show us the point on it. Take the lid
Okay.
off. Oh, yeah. It's a little bit tapered.
It's more, yeah, I just think the quality of it.
It's longer. Well,
They still do good. I don't know. I guess I don't give this one enough credit because I don't use it often, and I'm just still in love with these.
yeah.
This is actually, these are watercolor, water-based. So
Water-based.
they work better on mixed media and thicker papers. But let me get it. I think I'm gonna use a big blank sheet because it's gonna come out bigger. Okay. So we're gonna write congratulations. Sorry. I think I'm just gonna go for it, Debbie, because the sketching.
Yeah. We're kind of running out of time too.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So it's going to start off with an extended entrance stroke. Oh, did run out of space.
You ran out of space.
That looks like it's with the that looks like a small brush pen.
Wow, that's a beautiful pen.
Wait, there's two T's.
You're right, that's another T. Yep. We thought that there's a lot of graduates right now that actually got to graduate out on the field. So,
But yeah, so make sure when you do your letter S, let me just demonstrate the letter S with the tail. I could do it right here. Just go here. Oh, it was with the swirl. So when you do it like that, there you go. So like I need to do that again. You didn't even see it. So you want it to go here.
you're almost doing a figure 8.
There you go. And then just the extended exit stroke. Yep, that's like more like the picture we sent you in the email. So the long entrance and the long exit. Sorry, my angle is bad here. Oh yeah, so how much time do we have? 30, okay.
2 minutes. Go ahead and go over your supply.
Final. Yes, okay. We're gonna go over the last page. As you're getting that out, I'm just gonna go over some quick things with you. I wanted to let you know that whenever you're practicing, you wanna do guidelines. So you saw how Debbie did the banner, that's the guidelines. When during the worksheets, those are guidelines, and those are always helpful during your sketching your projects or even just during practice. And you can use grade school 2 rows like we did here. Can you see those? I mean, well, you got it in the packet, but use basic grade school 2 row for easy beginner worksheets. You can use grid style papers. That's more like this one we have here, grid style. And also using a pencil and ruler to create even guidelines when you're doing drills of alphabets and basic strokes. The guidelines are personal preference. You can add slants if you want to work with a more angled calligraphy, or you can do slants in an upward position. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean slants like these here. These are very slightly angled, but to me, I would see it more of as an up and downward. Sometimes they're more in this motion, and that's a personal preference. If you, depending how you want your calligraphy to look. If you want it to be more this way instead of this way. But one of my tips is consistency. So if you're gonna write the whole word, you wanna keep it this way or in a slant. Guidelines help you stay consistent. Oh, that's what I just said. Help you stay consistent with your letter direction. Okay. And of course, large brush pens are, you need, when you're working with a large brush pen, that's wrong page. You're going to need less rows, and when you're working with small brush pens, you will need less. I lost my other tips. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, so like I mentioned, be consistent with your letter direction and also your letter size. Right here, choose your angle and stick with it. So that what I just mentioned on the guidelines. The space between each letter should be the same. So from here to here, you want to keep it consistency, keep consistent. Use guidelines. Lift your pen after every stroke. If you're having trouble, use your wrist and arm and shoulder movement more, instead of just staying here and trying to stay in one position. Using your wrist, arm, and shoulder movement might help you. In the beginning, do rows and rows of basic strokes. Try different writing tools. Like somebody made a comment, they love the Crayola, then use Crayola and then move to something different. Practice helps with muscle memory and eventually will help with shakiness, because I know everyone may or may not have shakiness in the beginning. Supply recommendations. Rhodia notepad, that's what I was using here. This one is a dot grid, and they have them also in grid form
Graph.
and line. I'm sorry?
It's called graph paper.
Graph. There you
It's got the little squares, graph paper.
Rhodia has that dot pad, graph paper, and even line paper.
Mhm.
They also, that's a small one, and then this is the lined one. It's a bigger notebook kind of style.
And the reason you use that paper is because it doesn't ruin your pen tips. It's very smooth.
This brand has smooth paper. Quick preview. Look at all my rows and rows that I told you to do. Your alphabet.
That's an amazing notebook, Rachel.
Thank you. Okay, so that's Rhodia. I'm sorry, was that me? Oh, my echo. Can you hear my echo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there. Okay. HP premium paper is smooth. We recommend printing on that page. Any regular printer paper will fray your brush tips.
This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's just
no. You're not on the screen.
It's a red wrapper. And it's HP premium.
You're not on the screen.
Oh.
Maybe you could do.
Well, I'm holding it up.
I guess because I'm still on Spotlight.
Oh, hold on.
There you go.
Okay, so here's the package of the HP Premium, and it just is a smooth paper. You can get it at any office supply or on Amazon. Okay.
Okay. And again, smooth prevents brush tips from fraying. The Tombow pens are the ones that we used here. These are good beginner. They usually sell them in 2 packs like this, and I know people are talking about them being at Walmart already.
They are.
Tombow dual brush pen, that's this one here. Oh, did you get to see these? This is a Tombow here.
The Food Nesco.
Yep. And then this is a Tombow Dual Large. Other ones are the Pentel. It's a smaller brush tip, and Kelly Creates. That's another brand that is good that I've used. That's really good. When it comes to dip pens, let me see. I think I have one. It's just not set up, but the dip pen is another recommendation. This is another style of calligraphy that you can use. This brand, Manuscript Glossy, it's this one, and this is the one the library carries as well. Nikki G is the brand of the nib that Debbie recommends. And then watercolor, if you were to do calligraphy on watercolor, Pentel Aquash water brush is a pre-filled, it's actually empty, right, Debbie? It's empty and you fill it with water.
Exactly. I don't know where mine is.
Oh yeah, mine's in the kitchen. Okay. And other things would be a Crayola marker, even Crayola, what is it? The super tip. Those are the more skinny ones. I don't have one in front of me. Crayola super tip. Those are good for beginners. Using a Sharpie to create faux calligraphy. And other supplies would be a drafting pencil and a eraser. That's something like this.
We should add ruler to this.
Yes. Let me add that to my other page. Okay. But those are little beginner recommendations that we suggest.